The worst thing you can do on your college application is make your super impactful extracurriculars sound like So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make your extracurricular descriptions on your application Ivy League worthy. And these are the descriptions that help me get into all of these colleges. So trust me, there's a method to the madness, and I know what works and what the colleges are looking for. So in this video, I'm going to tell all of that to you for free. So if you want to see more of these college app videos, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It helps the channel out a ton, and it tells me you want more of them. So without further ado, let's transform your extracurricular descriptions to be Ivy League worthy. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you have an extracurricular activity is to categorize that activity. So the four main categories I like to use are leadership, projects, athletic, and passion. And you're going to want to follow this formula to write your description. You're going to say what you did, a measurable action that you did, and a measurable outcome from this extracurricular. So for this example, I'm going to use my Congressional App Challenge extracurricular that I did, where I created a mental health resources app on iOS and went to Washington, D.C. to pitch the app. So this is the way I worded my extracurricular. I said, made mental health app with 15 plus unique resources, learned Swift coding, pitched app to 11 Fortune 500 tech companies at House of Code at the US Capitol. So the biggest thing when it comes to writing extracurricular descriptions is you want to find some way to quantify what you did. That means including a number or multiple numbers in your description. It's the easiest and quickest way to show the admissions office that you made meaningful impact, which is the main point of an extracurricular. So some examples I like to use are number of hours you did something, number of members you recruited in a club or created or participated in, the amount of competitions won for a sport or competitive event, or another number that quantifies selectivity to an event or club. And the reason you want to do this is because it makes it easier for the admissions officer to understand the value you provided to an organization. If you don't put any numbers, the admissions office can't tell if you just didn't show up to a club, if you didn't participate, because there's nothing to show for it. And the best thing you want to do is make sure you have something to show that you made an impact in an organization. And the best way to do that is to quantify or use numbers to prove your impact. Now that's all well and good. You can use numbers, you can show that you made impact, but how are you going to differentiate yourself from the millions of other people who are also using numbers on their application? And for this, you're going to want to find something that you think you're the only person who did. And this can be difficult, so I do recommend you use something like ChatGPT, throw in your extracurricular and say, what are ways I can make this unique to me? For example, for my internship that I did, I said, only high school intern in the hospital's epilepsy research lab. So if you highlight that you were the only high school intern, it makes it different from other high school interns that are like one of 100 at their certain research lab. You could also, for example, for an app, you could say, created an app with 200 plus downloads. This shows that you're different from just someone who made an app and never proved its impact on the App Store. So you can show that number of downloads, or you can show that number of people in a research lab, which, for example, this was 1, or for the downloads, it was 200, to quantify how you were different than the average person doing this activity. Now, another big thing is you want to make sure that every single character in your description counts. What I mean here is you want to abbreviate your description as much as possible. Common ways to do this: change with to w/, change and to an ampersand, and never use full sentences. You always want to make sure ideas are differentiated with semicolons. No periods, no punctuation, because you're just trying to get the idea of what you're doing across. You're not really trying to be literary with it. You're not trying to show what full sentences or MLA format or anything. You just want to get the idea across. And the most you can squeeze out of that limited number of characters is what you're going to want to do. So make sure you abbreviate, never write full sentences, just use semicolons instead of punctuation, because this can allow you to get the most out of that limited number of characters. Now, all of that's well and good. Maybe that just went through your head, but here I'm going to show you 2 examples from my application of what I did that followed all these rules for writing these descriptions. So my first example is from my marching band, where I said, led 200 plus band members on and off the field at 4 contests, mentored 25 plus percussionists, helped all earn A's while continuing my 9+ years of drumming education. So notice how I used 200 plus, 4, 25 plus, 9 plus. All those numbers showed impact. They showed, for example, how big the band was that I led, They also showed the number of competitions we went to. It showed the number of people I led in my specific section, and it showed how long I'd been doing this activity for. And also notice how it wasn't written in proper, super grammatically correct English. It was just there to get the point across. I used semicolons to separate the ideas, and I abbreviated as much as possible. For example, I used YRS for years. I used the ampersand for and stuff like that. I didn't even put a period at the end of the description, just so I can save all those characters because every character matters. So my second example here is Science Olympiad, where I said, led meetings 4 times a week, organized 6+ fundraisers, parentheses, $3K plus, placed at regional competitions for 3 years straight, medalist in 7 events, and top 5 in 10 events. So if you didn't know anything about my Science Olympiad career, this basically tells you everything that I did in 4 years, or 3 years by the time this application was turned in. So you can see how I abbreviated meetings to MTGS. So led meetings, we showed that it was 4 times a week, organized 6+ fundraisers, that's the number there, 6+. Also showed the impact of those fundraisers with the dollars, 3,000 plus. Showed what I did at the competitions. I placed at regional competitions for 3 years. Notice another number there. I was a medalist in 7, so that's 7 events where I earned a medal. Top 5 in 10 events. So that shows how I fared in those competitions using numbers, because numbers are the easiest thing for the admissions officers to process. So this one I feel like checked all the boxes of what you want to try to do when writing a description. We included, 1, 2, 3 ideas in that 150 characters, and included 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in that sentence. That's 7 areas of impact that were showed in one description. And we also abbreviated wherever we could and made sure long words weren't holding this description down. And one more thing I want to add is notice how there's a plus after all the numbers. Instead of saying, for example, led 212 band members, writing 200 plus is technically not lying, and it also shows more impact because 200 plus could be 250, 270, not just 212 specifically. So that plus, while not being disingenuous, is a good way to highlight more impact without being liable for lying. So definitely utilize that plus when you can. So yeah, if there's one thing you took away from this video, it's that numbers are everything. You want to quantify whenever possible, as it shows the most impact. And what impact does is impact catches attention. So the best way to get the admissions officer's attention is to show impact, and show impact with numbers. And use that formula of saying what you did plus your measurable action plus your measurable outcome, as it's a good rule of thumb that helps you structure your descriptions to the way that the admissions officers like to read it. And these are the activity descriptions that got me into these schools. So it definitely works, and literally just copy what I did if you want to be successful too. And yeah, that's about it for how to write your extracurricular descriptions. If you found this video useful or helpful in any way, or if I provided you value, please consider subscribing and liking the video. It's totally free, and 95% of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So subscribing and liking tells me that you want more of these, and it honestly motivates me more to make them. So it truly means a lot if you could help the channel out. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.